We thought this would be a good time to give you 4 things that you'll absolutely love about Slovenia and 4 things that you might not love so much. So, starting with the positives. Number 1, the food. Guys, the food here has been absolutely incredible. We truly have not even had one meal that was like mediocre. And we're not necessarily doing a bunch of research before and trying to find the best places. We're kind of getting sucked into the tourist traps, maybe paying a little bit too much in certain places. But I'm telling you, the quality of the food is absolutely wonderful. They have their own taste, a lot of like different like little sausages, porklings, stuff like that they just throw in like traditional food like eggs that just makes things so much better. And the food is just so fresh. The vegetables and fruits here are just outstanding, and the desserts, I mean, literally, I can't say enough about the food. You're gonna love eating here. Thing number 2 that you're gonna absolutely love as an American coming over is how common English is here. It seems like even when you're walking down the street, people are speaking English. It's very, very common, and when you're at any restaurant, any place of accommodation, tourism site, you don't even have to worry for a second about not speaking the language here because English is so common. The third thing that you'll love, and this could be both Ljubljana and Slovenia specific, is the proximity to other wonderful places. So from Ljubljana, if you saw our last video, we actually did day trips from Ljubljana, and within just an hour drive in a couple different directions, there were some incredible day trips, and it's kind of like that all throughout Slovenia. You're really close to a bunch of big sites like Lake Bled, a bunch of different castles, and even here in Ljubljana, you're like a 2.5 hour drive from Venice, Italy. So it's very easy to get from place to place. It's a wonderful place to do those day trips, and you can just see a lot, covering a lot of ground, or I guess covering a lot of cities without having to cover a bunch of ground, which is really nice. You get to spend more time taking in the sights, getting to know the people eating the food, and not sitting in the car, sitting on a bus. If anything that I said has been helpful thus far, you've enjoyed it, please hit that like button. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Make sure that more people can get access to the content like this. All right, back to the tips. And the 4th thing that you're absolutely gonna love is just how much nature there is and access to nature in the entire country and even in the cities like Ljubljana. Like here in Ljubljana, most city centers are a little bit more industrious, right? There's not as many trees, but here I'm just sitting like right off the main strip, and you've got trees, you've got a river, there are multiple parks all around. It's so easy to find nature. And then if you're taking like a trip to one of those places like a Lake Bled or the Alps, anywhere, I mean, the nature is just stunning. I like to think of this as like Colorado on steroids. Like this place is just absolutely incredible. So you will love access to the nature. And a bonus 5th one is if you like nature, you probably maybe like dogs, and I'm a big dog person. Guys, the dogs here are awesome. I know that sounds really weird, but if you're a dog lover, you're gonna love it here because there are dogs everywhere. They're the most polite dogs, like in weird ways. Like they sit at the dinner table, like on the actual chairs, like at the table. They sit there. None of them bark. Like at first I thought that these dogs like might be drugged or something. They're not. They're just very well-behaved dogs. We actually learned that the dogs are even allowed in churches here in Slovenia. So there are church-going dogs, which is something that's pretty unique and pretty cool. So those are the things that you will definitely love about Slovenia and Ljubljana in general. And now I want to give you the 4 things that you might not love as much about Slovenia, or things that are nice to know in preparation for getting here. So the very first one is tipping. Tipping is definitely still common here in Slovenia, generally between 10 and 20%. But the one thing that is very different, if you're used to tipping in America, you give them your card and you write on the receipt, you write your tip, right? Here in Slovenia, it's a little bit different. You can still pay with your card, but there's no opportunity to tip on the card. So what you have to do instead, if you are gonna pay with a card, is pay with it and then just leave cash on the table. So that's something that you might not be used to if you're coming from a place like America where you're not having to tip in cash. Is just be aware that you're gonna wanna carry around some singles, you're gonna wanna carry around some extra euro to leave as tips, because you definitely don't wanna stiff one of the waiters. The service here has been awesome, so just make sure that you know that you can't always tip with your card and to have some cash on you. The second thing that you might not love about Slovenia, this one might be a little bit nitpicky, it happened to us, is some of the websites for some of the tourism attractions had incorrect information about the hours. So when we had taken a day trip down to one of the big castles, we thought that the castle opened at 10 because that's what it said online, but turns out it was like a restaurant that opened at 10. The castle actually opened at 11. Well, that kind of threw off our day's schedule, and we were trying to plan and kind of rush through that castle to then get to our next destination, which we thought had the next trip at noon and then at 2. Well, turns out even that next location actually had availability at 1, but again, it wasn't on the websites. So if you are going to do some day trips, if you're going to try to pack in a lot in one day, definitely make sure to maybe just give a call and find out what time is this actually open, because the website's not always the most reliable, at least in our experience. The third thing about Slovenia that you might not love, and again, this is nitpicky as well, is there isn't really a city that is big enough to justify a long-term stay. Honestly, Ljubljana could be done in just about a day, maybe 2 or 3, but I don't know that we would have enough to do here over the course of an entire month. It's just not as big as some other European cities. Now, it does have great proximity to those other places, but you're gonna end up spending a lot of euro getting there, whether it's renting a car, taking the train, or hopping on the bus. Probably not the best for those long-term. Just be aware of that, but again, it's kind of nitpicky, depends on what kind of vacation you're looking for. This is a gorgeous country, great people, wonderful food. I would absolutely recommend coming here. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.